Yo, what is going on, everybody? Isaac Mashman here, and welcome back to another episode of Chase the Vision with Isaac Mashman, the show that is all about helping you become a more capable individual through sharing my experiences and also during my interviews, the experiences of other people. Now, today, I have a very special guest. He's a friend of mine. He's an associate friend of mine, a business partner of mine, and overall a super, super talented dude. I have Hynesite here on the other end. What's going on, man?
Hey, Isaac, how are you? This is Hynesite coming to you live from 96.3. No, man, I'm doing great.
Love it.
How are you, man?
Bless, brother. Bless. Is this your first ever podcast that you're doing?
Legitimately, yeah.
Sheesh. All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So this is going to be Hynesite's first podcast before he turns into the next Skrillex in his own right with millions and millions and millions of listeners. So a little bit about you, man. You're a producer. You're an artist. You make music. You do a whole bunch of different things.
Am I going straight into that, or do you want a little background of like where I come from, or just like straight into like what got me started on that?
We'll go back and forth on that. A little bit about what you do first, so people know who they're listening to, and then we'll go into the personal stuff and all that other good things.
Absolutely. I when I was first formulating what it is I wanted to do for my dream, right? Because I think a dream is just two types of dreams. You either wake up and you're like 6 years old and you want to be a Navy SEAL, and you just know you want to do that, right? And you work every day, you pretend to play Army and yard, and then when you're 18, you go straight to the military. That's like a born dream. And then I think there's people that are, I won't use the word intelligent because I don't want to like be cocky, but there are people who are great thinkers who can sift through their emotions and kind of pick a dream. So I was doing that at 21. I was like, man, I'm getting good at the sales thing, but do I love it? I don't know. What do I love? Well, I love music. And every time I hear music, I hear changes I would make. So that's not normal. I don't think people listen to music like that. So that got me thinking, well, if I'm hearing changes, that means I would wish it was different. So if wish it was different, I'll make it different. And that's kind of how I got into music purely was I was hearing things differently than the other artists I like were making. And so that to me showed that I was passionate or at least curious about something. And I believe that everyone has time to put 20 hours into something. And if you look up 20-hour rule on YouTube, it's this thing that you can get good at anything in 20 hours, meaning a new video game. If I played it for 20 straight hours, I could compete with the average video game player in that game, right? So 20 hours into music, I was hooked.
Love it.
And so I produce music, and my only goal when I first started was to get as good as my favorite artist to myself. So not from other people, like to be that, like to say, oh, he's as good as this guy, but for me to put my song next to a song on a playlist and not be able to tell the difference in professional quality.
Love it. So you first got started when you said you were 21. You're what, 25 now? 26?
I turned 26 in May 28th of this month.
Yeah, May 28th. This month I have it marked down in my phone.
I started making music on October 17th of 2016.
You got it down to an actual like date. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So prior to that, did you ever like get involved with music? Like, were you always that kind of kid who was sitting down in school listening to music 24/7, or were you more?
Yes, I was that, and I also wrote poems/raps. And I say poems because I've been with my wife when she was my girlfriend. We've been together 11 years. And I would get grounded all the time in high school. So I could only basically write her notes. And we would send notes in the mail to each other at certain points of being grounded. So I would write poems. And then I learned that I knew how to rhyme. So I was like, well, I'll write raps. And so I wrote probably 1,000 raps when I was 16 and then never rapped them ever. I just wrote them. And then I tried to make a beat one time on GarageBand on my phone, and I showed it to somebody in class, and they made fun of me. And I just was like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't do that. Like, it just completely, my 16-year-old brain wasn't ready for like that kind of like, because I've been good at mostly everything up until that point in my life. So the fact that someone called me out for being like bad at something, I was like, oh, that sucks. I don't like that feeling. So I did actually know in high school that I really wanted to be involved somehow in the musical arts. But I definitely got deterred from my dream off of other people's judgment for, as a high schooler, if there's any high schoolers listening, don't listen to those kids, man, because I could have jump started my stuff back then.
So. Right. would have given up on yourself before you even got started, really, and saw that
Right.
momentum. And you're starting to see that momentum. And we'll talk about that here in a couple minutes. So I want to go back and talk about this. So you said that you never rapped the rhymes that you wrote, but
Mhm.
you're obviously talking audibly, but mentally and like in your head as you're writing them, did you like rap along in your head
Oh,
and then you just never
yeah.
like did it? Okay.
No, I rapped like out loud to myself. I had a friend named Kara that I would rap to her on the phone, but I never like recorded my own vocals, is what I mean, or got with people in a
Okay.
room and recorded sessions, just because I didn't feel like that was me all the way. So even in that, like although I thought it would be fun to be a rapper, I was just like, I don't view myself as a rapper, but I enjoy writing these raps. So it was more, that was just pure, don't want to use the word hobby, but escapism for me. It was like my journal, how people journal about their day. I wrote a rap about the day.
I'm gonna have to get Kara on for a podcast interview in the future. Give you a couple of years and talk about your journey. I got a close friend of mine that I keep joking with him about doing this because he saw me before all of this stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna bring you on for a podcast interview, and you can talk about how you bullied me and all this other stuff. I love you, dude, but no, that's cool. Cool. So let's talk about you growing up, man. You're from Indiana, right? So how were your parents growing up? How was your childhood? And let's dive into this.
Yeah, I would say I didn't have the worst childhood nor the best. And so like my parents got divorced when I was 3. And I think with my dad and my stepmom and my mom and my stepdad, I think between all 4 parents, that kind of caused me to like get more secluded and not share as much. I didn't take it well, basically, the divorce when I was young. And both sides of the family were quite poor until I was like maybe 13. So I think that the stress of the lack of money on my parents just caused a little bit of a stressful environment. So I wanted to seclude myself because I understood at a young age that I didn't like the way that stress felt on my brain. And if I could read a book or build a townhouse with Lincoln logs and just completely make something, basically out of nothing and keep my brain distracted for hours. So I don't think I had that good of a relationship with I don't say that good of a relationship because I love my dad, my stepmom, my stepdad, and my mom. But what I mean is I was kind of hard to talk to as a kid. If you were my parent, not if you were my peer.
Understandably so. I think that, when we're faced with things, and I can relate to certain degrees and in my own right, and you kind of create these things as a therapy for yourself, as escapism.
Yes.
You're escaping reality, and you're creating, being inventive or going out in the yard for a couple of hours, or just being okay with being alone. Now, when that comes to a professional sense, do you think that's benefited you? Because a lot of times people think of their childhood and the things that happened to them or the things that maybe didn't happen to them as a negative. But I think that can also serve as a positive.
There's been times in my life when I wasn't thinking right, where I would have answered, yes, I wish I could have grown up with my parents married forever, and and we had plenty of money to go around. And but when I'm focused and when I am not letting doubt creep into my career mind, I confidently say if I was to change anything about my childhood, there's probably no hindsight today. So I would not change that.
Looking back with hindsight, there would be no hindsight.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Cool. Let's talk about your name, though, because this is something that's interesting. And we've talked about this off air, but for people who are listening and, being that this is the first interview that you've done, like this has given people really a chance to get to know you and to get to know a little bit more about you that they never knew, because it's one thing to make music and it's one thing to be known for what you do, but to be known for who you are is something that I preach about, with personal branding. Like that's key. So how did that name come about?
I'm glad you asked that. And this is advice for all artists out there. Your name has to come to you. You don't go to your name. And so I had like 2 names before Hynesite. I was Young Kobe, but Young Kobe I always knew was going to be like just like a starter name. Like this is getting me through just to get into them. I like to step into character like an actor. So I get to the studio, like, okay, I'm Young Kobe. Okay, I'm SoCal. So SoCal was named too, which is like a blend of like a California just name. I love California. And then a couple people were like, yo, the name's kind of whack. I was like, yeah, I agree with you. And Steve being one of those people. And it was just time to evolve. And so I stressed out for like 90 days about a name. I mean, to the point where I wasn't even making music because I felt like I didn't know who I was. And this is why I say the name should come to you, because you don't want to waste 90 days not making music. my friend Will, who graduated with a marketing degree from the Kelly School of Business, I was like, hey, what should my name be? He's like, dude, it should just be Hynesite because your last name is Hines. It's like he had been waiting for me to ask him for months. You know what I mean? And so, and I was like, oh wow, that's like the best thing ever. And so I didn't want to use the normal spelling of the word hindsight because I didn't want to battle SEO at first. And so I just designed a little bit of a different spelling. And I also, the name happened kind of at a time where I was a little bit mad at my parents. So like changing the last name of my spelling was kind of like just a subconscious kind of like win that I was taking over like a certain situation too. So
active rebellion and active power at a young age. Yeah. To relate in more ways than one.
Right. Because I think I was 21 at that point. And I think 26 and 21 are way totally different ages. You know,
I can only imagine, man. I'm not even. Yeah, I'm not even there to where, you know, the age that you got started out is kind of a crazy thing to think about, dude, putting that into perspective. But there are a couple different pointers that are things that stood out to me. One was, especially working with clients, you see that people are trying to force creativity and they try to force, you know, these things like, for example, coming up with a name or coming up with a name for their album. And I had this issue before when I was working with musical talent or even working with clients, coming up with marketing phrases. And it's like, there's a reason why there's such thing as shower thoughts. You know, like, I don't know if you've ever seen like the Twitter page or the Instagram page. Shower thoughts are a legitimate thing because your brain and your body is at peace. Physiologically and physically, you're at peace. That means that you're safe. That means that your creative mind can start to work. Your subconscious mind starts bringing forth these ideas. And I think that's a great point to kind of, you know, tell people whenever they're going and trying to come up with a career name or even trying to come up with a new name for themselves. You know, if you're building up a brand, you talk about SEO, you had to change up the spelling. I recently had it to where somebody who's actually on the Mashman Ventures team, his name is Paul, and we renamed him to Cade. We literally changed the kid's name from a personal branding standpoint so he could start popping up with SEO. And then a couple of weeks later, bam, he started popping up.
Yeah, now, that's everything.
The next thing that you also talked about was you weren't afraid to ask another person for their opinion. Now, this is a fine line that we can talk about. You know, sometimes it's great to talk about the opinions of, or, you know, to pay attention to the opinions of others. And other times it can be really bad if it's in the wrong sense. Yes, so why did you ask him in the beginning? Like what came across your mind of like, I'm gonna ask him and see, you know, what old Will has for me?
I didn't even really ask him. He just kind of, I was in class making the beat on my phone. And so he was just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, this, you know, and it wasn't even like a person that I would say, I don't even know who asked me, actually, the person who it was. Like, I can't tell you who the person was now. So it wasn't like I'm more so in high school. I was more outgoing in high school than I am now, but it's a choice now because I'm forced to be outgoing all day. So I just kind of, I don't know. I got my circle already, but I'm never afraid to meet new. I always network, so it's kind of weird. I'm very outgoing in a networking sense, but when it comes to small talk, I don't like it. Agreed. So I've stopped doing that. So that's I cut back a lot of talking to people. But in high school, I definitely wanted to be. I felt like everyone around me had their thing. Like, you know, the quarterback of the football team was the quarterback, and the basketball three-pointer shooter was the three-point shooter. So who is this Mitch Hines kid? And so my junior year, which is when I was 16, which is when this was happening, I was developing my persona. And since age 12, you don't even know this about me, from age 12 to like 18, 19, I was a competitive, like street dancer. Like, you know, I would do like, you know. Like,
wait, did I hear you right?
Yeah, like I would do like the wave and like do tuts and stuff like that. And like our friends would battle other people and stuff. So like we were dancers.
If you're not watching the video, you need to go to YouTube and go to watch this video because he just laid out a couple moves.
Watch the video. Look, I haven't even danced in years. And it's just like riding a bike. Like I would never, you know, but so anyways, that was I was also, I mean, yes, I've always known I wanted to be some form of entertainment, basically, right? So that was my youthful dream. And then at 21, though, another dream was in my mind. How do I take all these people who don't believe they have potential and show them the glimmer of hope that they might have potential at something, right? And how do I do that, but not stray away from what I love? How do I connect music with passion to when somebody hears a song, it just wakes something up inside their head? And that's what I'm trying to do with my music, because I'm trying to wake people up.
Let's take a step back though. What makes you think that you have all of this potential? Because that's a question that people would ask.
What makes me think I have it? One, I've been told by other people that I've got it.
Okay.
So that helps a little bit. But that only comes from work ethic. So like if you just work really hard at something, people will start telling you have potential too.
Right. Well, I mean, if you only pay attention off of what other people tell you, it's basically a Ponzi scheme of motivation, you know, like, hey, tell more people that they're motivated and you can be motivated too. But I
guess I just wake up every day feeling that way. And I've always felt that way.
I want to go a little bit deeper though, because you went through this time and people, you know, you made that beat on your phone in class, people were making fun of you. What about you and this vision prevented you from just letting those opinions get to you? Because it's really easy for, you know, you starting out and, you know, you could listen to every single thing people say. And I was faced with this when I was getting started, you know, with a clothing line, and people were talking and making Snickers behind my back. And I'm like, I'm trying to do something. So why didn't you let that get to you and really prevent you from moving forward?
So how was I able to keep going forward, or why when I was 16 did I let that opinion get to me that one time, or both?
Both.
Okay, so I let that opinion get to me that one time because I didn't have a set target.
But outside of that time, I'm sure that people made fun of you and you stopped paying attention.
Oh, so yeah.
What was that process?
Dude, okay. Yeah. When I was dancing, I could not even move. I looked worse than a robot. You remember in Wizard of Oz when they had to like spray the dude down with oil? I needed to spray down with oil. My friend Pierce, who taught me how to dance, would always pretend like he was spraying me with oil and shake my arm. And he was like, dude, just loosen up. And so my wants to get good was just so much heavier than the pain I felt from people making fun of me. Like I wanted to get good so bad at something that like every time I was like shot down from it, it just turned into motivation to do it even more, because I wanted people to get to a point where they couldn't even say a single word to me because they had doubted me for so long. And now here is someone who just persisted. But that's not because I want to impress people. That's because I want to prove to myself that I can do things.
So, healthy level of ego to yourself.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Nothing wrong with that. So you put out your first song on Spotify back in 2019, from what I could see. Was that correct? Like, when was the first time that you actually decided to take and move your music career forward professionally? Like, take the stuff off of SoundCloud and let's go and distribute it and actually take this as a career.
I would say, yeah, like when I uploaded, and even that song that you're talking about, Phases, I'm about to delete off Spotify because I think I did that too. I want that just to be a SoundCloud only song, because now I have this vision of like when people come to my page, I almost want to be able to guess which song they're going to pick first, right? And so in Apple Music, but 2019 is the best answer for you. But I would really say that these past 5 months is where I'm actually understanding the professionalism of what it is to like how people look at music brands. So I was trying to be professional in 1920. I feel like now I'm being professional though. So just a difference in those two things. So
that's kind of the mentality. And we've talked about this in private about the mentality that you take to really become successful, the mindset of the 1%. Like people think that 1% only pertains to finances, when in reality, finances is just one aspect. Money is energy. So the more energy you give out, or the more people you help, the more you're going to receive. But to be a little bit more specific, the 1% mentality goes to the way that you think about everything, the way you perceive success, the way you perceive things that are happening to you, and the way that you perceive yourself in your career and making the decision to become successful. And that's why there's a stigma of SoundCloud rappers versus like actual artists. And that's huge. And once you break out of that and get that clarity, it's like, it's not going to be smooth sailing, but I've watched your career, man, from the time that we got connected last year in like August, September, up until now to where you went from having a couple hundred monthly listeners and you just hit like over 6,000 monthly listeners. You have a song with over 10,000 streams. And like these numbers aren't like millions of streams. And I'm not saying that to downplay your success, but this is a really great example of somebody who's early on in their career, who's going to hit that million mark very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I'm excited about this.
If you take 5 streams to 21,000 streams, the percentage of increase it takes to do that is way less than 21,000 to a million. In the percentage of increase. So yeah, so if you're getting 5 or 10 streams right now, and then you get to 20,000 streams, the percentage of increase to get to 20,000 from 10 streams is way higher of a percent increase. Think stocks going up, 1,000, 2,000%. It's like a straight line up. 20,000 to a million, that is much shorter of a distance when it comes to percentage. Now it's a farther number, but percentage wise, the increase is, nowhere near as severe.
Play that back, because that's a value, Jim, right there. That's really, really powerful. Now, what really contributed to that increase?
Meeting the right people, for sure, and the quality of the music. I think the quality, I am a little bit confident in my music, so even when it's not as good as the next guy's, I'm like, yo, this thing is fire. Nothing's slapping harder than this. So it's like, and then finally the confidence started kicking in around Hazel Memories on the listener side of things. But you have to try things. You have to spend some money, and there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, do not pay to get in front of places. No, I've never paid for a follower, and I've never paid for a stream, but I have paid for people to place me in different playlists. And I my first 3 tries of that, they were all fake. They were bots, and I could tell they were bots, and I was frustrated. And then I finally met a guy who owns a record label. His name's Wesley Collins. He owns a real label called Recall Network. It's got pretty good mid-tier artists on there. They're generating, 20,000 to 100,000 streams per song. And we just connected on Facebook one day, and he made a post, and he was like, hey, I know some of you artists right now, you go through work, you have all these things, and the last thing you have to do is to be online for 10 hours a day sending DMs trying to get your messaging right. I spent the last 10 years building the connections for these playlisting. Show me your music, and I'll see if you're a good fit, and then we can talk pricing. And so I waited for all my other playlisting stuff to zero out so I can see the real stats, right? And when I gave him, money to try a certain level of placement, I noticed a few things that were indicators of it being real, because I had not experienced these things before. I started growing followers in conjunction to saves. So if someone saved it, there's a good chance, like if someone saves your song on Spotify, there's only about a 10% chance that person's going to go and follow you after that too, because it's a 2-step thing. People don't like doing 2 steps, right, on their phones. And if you think about when someone's driving, Spotify has a safety setting that you can't even follow somebody while you're driving. You can only like the song anyways. So the ratio of someone liking your song to following you is just like 2 different processes. But I noticed that with this guy in his services, that I was getting a very healthy amount of saves, which means people download the song through the library, and then a slow increase in followers. Now I'm talking slow. Like I got my first 100 followers on Spotify on my own, like just messaging people, hey, please follow me on Spotify. We know each other basically. Why not? And then from 100 to 147 followers took me a year. It took me 1 year to get 47 followers. From 147 to 512 took me 21 days.
There's nothing wrong with paying for marketing, and there's nothing wrong with paying for advertisements. What I have an issue with is people who buy their followers, buy fake streams, and knowingly see, when you went through and accidentally got on playlists, you didn't know that they were fake. And this is the other thing, right, that if you're in the music industry, you will experience at one time or another. There will be people who will charge you to be on it, multiple times. And this is the same thing with people buying their followers, saying, hey, I can get you famous. They have 500,000 followers, yet they're losing 12,000 every single month, because guess what? They bought their followers. And that's a large part why I launched my company, why I'm in that business. And this is a large reason why you're doing what you're doing, because at the end of the day, you're showing these people that, hey, it's possible to do something. And I think that's a driving force for you. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want that more than ever, for people to just think it's possible, forget taking the first step. I think it just feels good to just believe that something's possible. And then that's how you get towards the first step, is the belief comes first for half the people. I think a lot of people do things out of fear, and it ends up working out for them too.
Right. And I think once you get that it's a very subtle change that you really can't pinpoint one particular moment in your life. But as soon as you have that little bit of a perspective switch of you start viewing things as like fun, and you start viewing what you have going on as like something that you can enjoy. It's something that's enjoyable because for me at least, and I imagine it's the same for you, you're very numbers driven and you're very analytical with what you have going on. You're over here talking about percentages, and these aren't things that artists normally talk about. Like, unless you're Russ, like, you don't talk about percentages, you don't talk about scaling, you don't talk about growth, you don't talk about all the nitty gritty details, but you start viewing this out of so much of a number perspective too, but just as like, yo, I'm able to scale this up and grow. And every single person I connect with, every relationship I make is contributing to this persona in your case, or this personal brand or this business. And that's a really, really great place to be in. So what's something about you that makes you unique compared to every other artist who makes, music? And I don't even know how we would define the music you make. If you want to try to define it, you can. Like,
I'm still working on that elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Man, this is where I think there's a certain caliber of care that I have that is the same level of care that people who are just like, okay, think about the time when like you're like a rapper that you found or an artist you found was still underground and you found them and you got to watch their rise as a success, right? Those couple projects right before they blew up were always the best ones because they knew they were close, right? They knew they were close. They weren't listening to any labels, but they just knew they were close. I feel like I'm close the day I got started making music. And that like level of like that level of like, I know I can grab this dream. I think just that confidence alone makes me different from everybody because that's like in the electronic music game, you don't see confidence like that. It's not like the rap game. In the rap game, you see confidence, a lot of fake confidence. In the electronic game, usually artists don't get any confidence until like their numbers back their confidence up. And so I think just doing that also, I have sales experience that it's not just sales experience. I consider myself an expert. I've done my 10,000 hours. I've made a living off full commission sales my whole adult life. I've never once had an hourly job, my adult life. And I know that is an extremely big part of being successful in business is being able to sell. Absolutely. And so I have those backgrounds working for me, but I also just care so much about my sound. And dude, I did your podcast intro. And so like the fact that like we met off of Twitter, a week later, I was doing your podcast intro.
That's what I was about to talk about. Yeah. So I was actually making that.
Those kind of hints that I get, those career hints that I get, give me the confidence to know that I'm onto something different because you could have chose one of the 10 million producers out there.
Literally, I had multiple people in my network I could have called upon too. And all of them either, here's something that's interesting. Let's talk about this for a second, because one, I did choose you to do my podcast intro and outro. And then from there, you also turned that into a full-length song that's up on my personal Spotify. If you go to Isaac Mashman, which is something that one is a marketing strategy that very few people have done. And then thirdly, I've also brought you on as an audio producer for the Mashman Ventures team on a personal level outside of your career, a way for you to generate extra cash flow, improve the skill set, learn more about personal branding, that sort of thing. I don't want to talk about that too much because this is about you, but there were multiple people in my network. I was in the music industry for like 6 months, 12 months. Some of my closest friends are producers. Like I could have asked anybody, and here you are. We randomly get connected on Twitter out of like sheer chance.
Hashtag random. Thank you, Grant Cardone, because I responded to a Grant Cardone tweet, and that's how you found me.
Yeah, it was Grant. And there's something else about connecting with Grant's followers versus other gurus. You actually connect with people who are interested in money and success and making things happen. Not these people who are like feel good guru bullshit. I'm gonna throw that out there. I hate half the people who are out there because they will always tell you what you need to hear or what you want to hear, but not what you need to hear. And I'm not here to get fired up on that subject, but we get connected, we get on a call, and then I hear some of your music and I go back and I research, and you were at like, I think 50 monthly listeners. And I'm like, why doesn't this dude have more? And I'm not thinking this out of a place of ego or an opportunist. I'm thinking this out of a perspective of like, I got on the phone, and one of the first things I told you, I was like, you're OCD. I'm like, you are OCD. You think over the same exact thing, and you are a fucking perfectionist. And you're like, yeah, because your music has that. And that confidence isn't misplaced. And I know that some people, you know, especially in the rap game, you see people and these artists who are like super confident and their rhymes are worse than Little Pump's. And you're just like, all right, I don't know about that. But like your confidence isn't just, it's not fake, it's legit. So what's the goal with all of this, right? You mentioned a couple of times that you're doing this to show people what's possible in that regard. But outside of that, where do you see yourself in the next, I'd say 3 years is a comfortable number. I would say 12 months, but 3 years is enough to do short-term, midterm, and even start hitting on those long-term goals.
Yeah. So 3 years, I see myself established for sure. And by established, I mean like, I know this is a silly metric, but like if you get this metric, it means you're doing things right. Like I would like to be verified on every platform in the next 3 years. And not for status quo, but just so I can make it easier to market. When people see the blue check mark, they're going to click your ad faster, you know? And so I see myself there. I see myself fully making a living off of whether it be music mixed with like a couple of my side projects I have going on. Like I just don't make electronic music. I have Hynesite is my light brand. I call it my light brand, like my angelic, you know, brand. I haven't named this yet. This is top secret information. I think like I'm calling it Hynesite 808 for now, but it's going to have a different name, and the brands are going to tie together. It's going to be my dark side, because every person has demons, and that person is going to be producer for rappers only. So basically I'll be there, like I won't be the main focus of these projects. I'll be helping people be, you know, with their projects. And so
interesting.
And it's going to be, they're going to tell a story of dark versus light. And like, because, you know, usually with rappers are fighting demons and they're vocal about it, but electronic producers aren't vocal about their demons very often because they only make sounds, not words. And so it's going to be like an angel talking to the devil's side, one a little bit growing to this pinnacle. But that's like, I mean, I need to have a couple meetings with you about how to bring that to life, because I just had this idea the other day. So I see myself getting that figured out. I see myself building my solid team, and I definitely see myself having at least 1 million streams on one song.
Those are low. I'm over here telling you that you need to make those bigger. That
Well,
1 million streams, dude. Man, I have seen people, and this is just me, off the record. I've seen people go from having no brand, no talent, no personality, no good traits about them whatsoever, to hitting 1 million plus streams in a year, getting 1 million on Instagram, hitting, 1 million on YouTube. Like I've seen it happen with some people. And I'm not here to name any names there. You could have thought of 1 million people with me saying that, but I've seen that happen in 12 months. So somebody with talent, and this is, I think, the irony too. A lot of times people who lack the talent aren't the ones who are appreciated the most, or the ones who have the talent aren't appreciated as much as the people who lack the talent. You know what I'm saying? Like we could use rappers as an example, like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole. A lot of the people who are the most lyrical and arguably the best lyricists are the ones that are not appreciated or have as much attention, let's say, compared to the artists and the rappers who don't have nearly the amount of talent. Now, who am I to judge based off of talent? I'm not the one behind a mic, but still there are different, milestones, just like you mentioned, the verification check. And this is something that it's like, you're not chasing something that's empty. People think a verification check mark is just like empty. Yeah. And they don't understand the consequences of brand psychology. Like this is something that we could talk about for hours, or I could talk about for days on end. Kind of stuff. Yeah,
this is my kind of stuff right here.
The psychology behind branding is so huge. You get a check mark, even if you have a couple hundred followers, you would instantaneously be perceived as different in society. And this goes back to the angel effect. This is a recurring theme in personal branding. And this is why, if you're listening to this and you're building up a brand, you need to do your market research and the competitive research to the people who are also in your field, so you can start duplicating their results in your own right. What platforms can you get on, right? Are you only on SoundCloud, or are you on Spotify? Now, outside of Spotify, are you on Apple Music? Are you on Amazon Music, right? My podcast, this is free gold for podcasters. Amazon recently rolled out Amazon Podcasts. Like, you can get your podcast now on Audible and Amazon Podcasts, and the majority of people haven't done it yet. Expanding and tapping into international markets. What can you do to be different and position yourself to be somebody who's viewed as a person of credibility, somebody who's working on it? And there's a reason why I got you on the show, because I know where the fuck you're going, and you know where you're going. And that's more important than my perception of anything. And so, yeah, man, easily talk about all of that. Really, really interesting subjects. Yeah, you need to set your goals bigger. This is just me talking bro to bro, mentor to mentor.
I've got a chick who's a friend she's volunteered to help me with my because I call it multi-focus, where I'll have like a lot of stuff going on, and then I'll get really consistent with my videos for 2 or 3 weeks, my positive videos online. But then I want to finish my song, so I accidentally spend 7 days finishing my song and not making any videos for 7 days. And so I'm talking to this chick. She's like, "What do you need help with your brand?" She's like, I want to help make you merch. I want to do this. And I'm like, well, what I need a mini boss to where when I write out a plan and it's Thursday and I haven't made the video, I promised that would be done by Friday, for you to call me and say, "Hey, dude, I need that video so we can post it tomorrow." Because the chances are I just forgot about the video because I'm 12 hours deep into making a new base. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then the day before I maybe worked really hard, worked 2 hours late, and just fell asleep like a human when I got home because I was tired. And if I have that just a little bit of a team, not like external motivation, because I don't need motivation to do the video. I need a team, just like at work, I have a finance manager who will turn something in for me. I need teams to basically help me develop the overall picture, just like you needed a team. So what'd you do before you had any idea on how to pay people, before you had any idea on how to lead people? I mean, I don't think you've ever been a manager at a store before, have you, or anything?
No, not
No.
See, I've had like indirect leadership experience in different ways.
Right. So, but you've never been seen as the boss, probably.
No.
Right. And you decided to go out and become one before you even were one. And so that to me is like, that taught me that, okay, you know what? I need some help, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to leverage what I have to help these people back, but let's just put it out in the market that I need help and see what happens.
Right.
And
right.
I think that's how I do the bigger numbers, the 100 million streams, is by being consistent.
Delegate to elevate.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
That I got that from Grant Cardone in Undercover Billionaire. He was doing that and he said, delegate to elevate. And I'm like, I am stealing that. And this is the second time somebody's written it down today. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm gonna stop saying it's Grant's. It's now Isaac Mashman's. No,
Yeah.
But no, okay. So a lot of people too are afraid of sharing their successes. And I think that this is coming from maybe like a scarcity mindset, would you say, versus having an abundance mindset? Because you could easily say that, oh, bringing this person on, now that means that she's going to have a part of my success.
Yeah, I know the answer to this question halfway. So people are scared of sharing their successes because of the amount of likes they get on Instagram after they post about it. So I've noticed about every time I post a big win of mine, when it comes to my music career, I don't get a lot of interaction. When I post a big win about, let's say, a job type thing, or like something that people can relate to because they can see themselves possibly. A lot of people can't see themselves making a song that I make ever because they don't know what it takes to do that. But a lot of people can see themselves maybe selling a camper, which is what I do for money right now. And so when I talk about a big sale online, or selling 3 campers in a weekend or 5, that might get 100 likes compared to my song that got 20,000 plays in 10 days, gets like 17 likes. And that doesn't bother me, but it would bother a lot of people who are in it for the right reasons. And that's why you see people not posting their wins, because they don't see them as wins anymore, because they let other people tell them what a win is.
And that is the dark side of social media. And I know that you bought a camper recently and you're turning it into a mobile studio and renting it out as a form of passive income and that sort of thing. That post had a ton of likes. Exactly. And you're over here posting about your streams, and I'm looking at like 10 people and I'm like, man, that's annoying. And it's just, I've noticed the same thing with me. And that's Facebook. That's one platform. But if you were to take that off of Facebook and go to Twitter or go to Instagram or go to LinkedIn, it's the same exact thing. How many times will people on your LinkedIn account respond to a new job change or a career change? But if you were to post about, I just had the biggest win of my career, they're like emoji. You know what I'm saying? And
not even that. Like it's I wish I could see like on pictures or just like text. Because I know in videos you can track views through most apps, right? It tells you your view count. I want to know how many people spend more than 1 second reading my post, more than 2 seconds reading my post that don't like it. Like, because it's got to be in the thousands, because I'll go a couple months and then someone I haven't talked to since I was 15 will DM me and say, yo, love all your stuff, bro, keep going. And then I'll go look at my last 50 posts and they haven't liked one of the things. Or commented one time. So I know there's a lot of people that are just being bystander-ish And that could be, I think some people just truly don't care about liking and commenting, especially males over the age of 28, I would say, don't care about showing you love, and not all males, but just that bravado, like, I'm not going to show this guy a heart emoji because he taught me how to talk about my feelings today. I'm just going to go apply the knowledge. Thanks, kid. I think there's a lot of that going on right now too.
That's definitely it. And I can also see it too from another perspective of people who they're there to pay attention and there to see it. But then at the same time, they have this kind of thing that's like, man, I kind of wish I was doing the same thing. And this is something that people don't understand, that they can do the same exact what we are doing. It's not that damn complicated. Like, it takes time, but anybody can do it.
And they don't even have to do what we're doing. Like, you could
in their own right.
Yeah, Gary Vee talks about this. He says so many people want to be rich, but they don't realize that they would be happy off 80 grand, 100 grand a year doing what they love to do. He's like they don't realize. And now here's the thing: once you get to that, you typically would start wanting more, and you start learning how to scale. But I think his point is you need to get started in an area of what you think you would like to do for the rest of your life. And I think that is the hard part, is starting, because people don't have the self-esteem, or they've been told by their spouse no, or they've been told by their parents no. And you have to decide, like when your parents tell you no when you're 18, you leave the house.
Facts. That's what I did. Yeah,
that's what I didn't even get the chance to make it to 18. I feel like, I was going, so it was like,
same.
It was like, so it's like, and I know that there are, Jocko Willink talks about this on his podcast because Echo Charles is his co-host, and they talk about, like, Echo always tries to bring in justification points, not to get people out of situations, but just to basically bring up an objection so Jocko can crush it. And he just talks about extreme ownership. And I don't know, I think people just aren't reading enough books, man, or listening to enough Grant Cardone on YouTube. Like, that's just it. Like, if people have not been taught anything, they need to go learn something that's not from their brain.
I had no idea what sales was, man. I'm looking over here because I have books over here, Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. I had no idea how to sell, like, professionally. And I knew I needed to increase the skills. I studied, I learned from mentors, and I picked up a book. And, again, that requires a level of humility, right? Because that means that you have to admit and recognize that you're not perfect and you're not Mr. Know-it-all like you quite thought you were. And I
never even thought about it that way.
It takes humility.
It takes a lot of humility. It takes more humility to be good at something than it does confidence.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to your spouse, right? You've known your wife for 11 years, and you've been married for what, 5, 6? I think you guys
since 2000. No, 3.
Coming up 3. Coming up 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 coming up on 3, somewhere in there. Yeah, it all blends together when you've been dating so long.
So, how has that been with her supporting your musical career and just managing the balance of having wifey time? Like, how was that for you? Because that's something that a lot of artists don't talk about specifically. They for some reason leave their spouses or significant others out the question. They don't even talk about the home life balance, and I think that would be one of the most interesting things to talk about.
Right. You have to care about her, about your spouse, or him if you're a female listening, or whoever your spouse is, them, they. You have to care, and you also have to have the conversation before you get married. That was a big thing. Hey, I love you. I will always, when I can tell that you need more of my time, I'm going to give it to you all the time. If I can tell that I'm not being attentive to you, and it's been a few months since I've taken time off from the studio, I'll take 2 weeks off from doing everything except watching Netflix on the couch with you for 2 whole weeks, because I can tell, I crossed the line with time. But before we got married, we were talking about, goals, and, I was very nervous to get married or even engaged, because I've always wanted to have extremely big dreams. I want to live in my car in California until I made it, so there is also sacrifice that comes with it, people. But I just said, you're going to definitely have to respect the fact that I won't be happy unless I'm chasing my dream, and you won't want to be married to somebody who's miserable.
Right. And
so there's going to be sacrifices on both of our ends, but it's going to be for the better of everything. And so that was, if the talk would have went badly, we probably wouldn't have gotten married.
Having somebody who can bring you up was honestly, this is something that I can talk about now too, of finding someone who's there to support your dreams and is also there to share the lows and to share the highs, to celebrate the highs and to, work with you through the lows is vital, I think, because humans naturally, there are different things and different ways you can phrase this based off of who you're studying. But, people need love, they need companionship, they need food, they need shelter, they need, affection. And humans are naturally people who are happiest around others. Now, you can be a reclusive individual and be a lone wolf or an introvert, but oftentimes you truly talk to those people, they're not truly happy. And there's again a balance of like, how much time are you spending with yourself versus how much time are you socializing? And even if that means with one other person. And, Napoleon Hill, the mastermind effect, talking about when you have two people of like energies, they're able to create a third mind, hypothetically, in the sense of that third mind is smarter, more intelligent, more creative than any of those people. That's why you get together. And this is why we've been on calls before talking about what can we do with the brand? What can we do to expand it? It's because we're able to come up with things that we would have otherwise not come up with. So that's a really good point. I appreciate you sharing that. So you recently came out with a song, Dirt on My Name, with another local rapper out. I believe he was local. And personally, I love it. And it came up in my release radar in Spotify. And I didn't even know if it was your song. And I was listening to it. And I texted you that. And I was like, dude, this came on. I didn't even know it was you. And I loved it. Like it was the best thing on my release radar that day.
That's awesome, man. It's definitely been the best release so far for me. As far as like, I would never, ever give up on music. But I was at a stage where I was a little discouraged that like, I just felt like everything was so fake, I felt like I was attacked by the music community a little bit for being racist, for just being Republican. Like, and I'm not even, I'm not even consider myself political. I just consider myself, if I was to pick anywhere, just slightly more to the right than anything. Right. So
yeah,
I was called like racist I believe for those things. And I like grew up literally in the Black community. All of my, I'm literally engineering and mixing and I just my heart was crushed because I am not, and so so I made a post about it on Facebook and I was like, hey, where's my brothers at? Can you guys post for me and basically just vouch for me? And so that made part of the community really mad. They're like, take that post down, blah, 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 blah. People weren't writing articles about me because I was apparently, blacklisted. And so I got really discouraged for a minute because I was getting slandered upon for just something that wasn't true. And then to put out a song with a local Black rapper that came to my house here in Fishers, Indiana. We ate food together that day. We laughed together that day. We recorded vocals together that day. I called him brother, told him I love you. I drove him home that day. And to do that song right after all that slander, put it out. It take me from 147 followers to 520 followers. It go from 0 plays to almost now 20,000 plays. That is why this song has been the best song to me, not because of it actually being sonically the best song. This song and the accomplishment of reaching 500 followers is going to feel way better than 1 million followers.
Yeah. That's powerful. And, we could sit here and talk about, politics and lacks of opinion. If it's today, and this is partly to do because of social media, keyboard warriors, to where if you have an opinion that is anything but yours, that person is automatically wrong or considered a racist, when I would much rather be able to sit down and have a logical conversation with you about, okay, well, here's the logical statistics behind things. And then from here, are you viewing this with an attitude of emotion or logic? And there's a healthy balance. There's a balance to that. And I'm the same way, man. I'll comfortably say that I tend to lean more towards the right when it comes to finances. I'm more fiscally conservative. Yes. And then when it comes to things of nature that would be considered more social, I'm more to the left, but I consider that being the party of logic. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. It's you're either hot or you're either warm. And it's
I wish there were no parties and you just voted for the person's beliefs.
I wish there was no money and I wish there were no parties, but we don't live in that world. So we have to exist in the world that we were born into, brother. And so, man, this has been a really, really great time. Now, is there anything specifically that you want to talk about, while we have a couple more minutes left?
I just would like to be invited back again one day. I don't think I have anything else to say other than if you're growing a personal brand, you need to make yourself recognizable. This is where, and so I learned this in sales. I have a couple of tattoos, and one of them, if you're watching let me see if I can do this right. Yeah, if you're watching the video, you'll see this piano tattoo on my forearm. Well, I've been a sales guy forever, but I hate giving out business cards in sales because they just get thrown away. People lose them, you know what I mean? And it's just like disrespectful. So people like, can I have a business card? I'm like, absolutely not. But you can remember that my name is Mitch with the piano tattoo. So if you ever call the store, you come back in, just ask for Mitch with the piano tattoo. And like, or if we were in a show, which would be like at the fairgrounds, you're talking to 1,000 clients a day trying to get business. I would always wear a completely crazy hat, like, you know, a red hat that said, you know, something on it, or just something that was bright, and just like, hey, remember the kid in the red hat? And like that, just personal branding has brought me so much attention and so much business and so much money in my life that if you get good at that skill, you'll really be taken care of for good for life. You know, you always have a job. I went to drop my car off to get service at the Honda dealership. I had to get an Uber back to work. The Uber required I wore a mask and take a picture of my face with the mask on. So I walked directly into the sales tower of this Honda store, asked for a mask. They couldn't find one. I said, hey, look, can one of you guys just find me a mask? I know you guys have one laying around here. I'll wear a used one. I don't care. I'm just trying to get in my Uber. They sat me down and interviewed me for a job that day because they said that no one's ever walked into a showroom like that and taken control of everybody in the showroom. And I was like, yeah, I just needed a mask, you know.
Confidence, like, man.
Yeah. And so but that's part of my personal brand. That's who I am. That's how I want you to know me if you meet me for the first time. And so people got to get that figured out, because if you're one of those people right now complaining about low wages, complaining about companies not paying you enough money, complaining about, you know, the standard of living and rents going up, the truth is you're complaining that you don't have any value to bring to anybody around you. And if you had some value to bring the people, you would be one of the people saying, thank the Lord for all the blessings I have. Thank goodness for this pandemic in a weird way, because it taught me that even in these strong times, that the skill set I've built allowed me to survive.
I launched my company in April of last year. Like I launched the company in April, man, right in the middle of the pandemic. This is something I haven't talked about publicly. I got, some extra money from the stimulus check, and I'm like, I have not devoted it towards an LLC. I was acting as a sole proprietor up until that point for the past couple of years. I'm like, I'm taking Uncle Sam's money and I'm gonna send it right back to Uncle Sam. And I launched the LLC, and then I launched Mashman Ventures because I knew I needed to provide value. I knew that I needed to put a fire underneath my ass, man. That was a value drum.
And really quickly, before everyone gets really mad, I'm not saying that to bring you down at all. I'm just saying it to like, I actually believe that people should get paid more on minimum wage, because I do believe there are people who may be on disability or who can only work a certain function of a job that actually need that money and need to pay rent. But if you're a healthy, able individual, you got to pinpoint when you gave up on your dreams.
Facts. No, I completely agree. And that's the other thing you're not going to be hit with, man. The people who listen to the show, the people who you're talking about are not going to take the time to even listen to this show. And if you are listening to the show for whatever way or chance that you came across Chase the Vision with Isaac Mashman, and you're listening to this interview right now, then stop being a victim and start taking back control of your life. Because as soon as you act like a victim, then that means you give away all of your power. That gives away all of your individuality. And that gives away everything that you could otherwise leverage and use for your growth, for your journey, for your life, for your progression, and for your fucking vision, which is why I called this, man. It's not going to be handed to you. If you start looking for handouts, you expect to have other people who are able to control your life for the rest of your life.
And if you are one of those people who is just on the fence of like, man, do I want to pursue this life of excellence? Just congratulations for making it this far. And congratulations for thinking about it, because most people won't even think about pursuing excellence. And if you're listening right now, I just lock it in for 90 days and show yourself every single day what you can do, and do that to the maximum. One thing I've been doing is, even if I don't get enough sleep, I'm waking up at 7 and I'm doing a workout right away. Every morning, and I'm still going to the gym at night. I'm just talking as many push-ups as I can until my body collapses and I hit the ground. That small win carries into your next decision. Ooh, should I have the donut for breakfast or should I cook the egg? Oh, because since I worked out, I'm going to cook the egg. But if I woke up late, I'm going to grab the donut. And you just, the very first decision you make every single day dictates how your entire day goes most of the time. And especially as creatures of habit, man, if you're in the habit of hitting snooze, and you're in the habit of eating the donut, and you're in the habit of not working out, and you're in the habit of losing, it's like so hard to break out of that. Like
I get down for 1 week at a time, and I think my life's falling apart. I'm like, oh man, I've been negative for 4 days. I suck. I failed. I'm never gonna be successful because I was negative for these 4 days. Like that's how psycho I am about negativity now. Like I will beat myself up until I'm literally crying myself to sleep so I can wake up positive.
Mic drop.
So,
And this is one other final note of conversation. It's people who are on the path of becoming successful are here to bring you up. The people who are not on the path to becoming successful and the ones that you're associated with today are the ones who will pull you down. But if you surround yourself with other people that are looking to do or accomplish similar things as you don't have to worry and second guess yourself about being in the right company. The good company will bring you up. And so, if you're one of those people that we were talking about a minute ago, and like you're here trying to change up some aspect of your life, like, yo, I'm here to help you bring yourself up. Like I'm here to see you win. But the thing is, I can only do that to a certain degree, right? I can do this for podcasts. I can record this with, Hynesite. But if you don't apply what we're talking about, or if you don't even shoot us a message or a DM to begin with, that's really the extent of what we're able to do. You have to have this level of self-accountability, self-respect, humility, and understanding. And then from there, develop your work ethic to start implementing those changes, to take action. And so, dude, Hynesite, I have enjoyed this interview very, very much. We've covered a lot of amazing, amazing things. And to answer your question a minute ago, of course, I'm gonna have you back, man. Come on, you're part of the Mashman Ventures family. You're part of my family. You're part of my friends. You're part of the people who I care and love and respect. And so that's already done. So where can people find you and be on the lookout for, future music and future releases?
At Hynesite everywhere. I'm on every
How do you spell that though? You're saying Hynesite.
Yes.
How do people spell it?
Yes, I'm so sorry. H as in Henry, YNESITE. So
Love
it's basically, so it's site, just SITE, and then Hine with the Y in front of it. So HYNESITE. And you can definitely, if you're gonna follow anything, probably Instagram or Twitter. Instagram's Hynesite Official. Twitter is at Hynesite. I mean not Twitter, but TikTok or Twitter. But I'm gonna be growing those 3 brands just because I like those 3, and so I like them. So I'm gonna grow those, and be lookout for the texting service coming out probably within the next 2 months, where it'll be about 5% music marketing, 95% self-help. So where I will get to know each individual fan and what your problems are. I'll be able to stick you guys into certain basically groups so if you're going through depression, I'll have a text that goes out on Mondays for depression to the people who are going through depression. But if you're a person that's going through, you're trying to reach that new level of success, you're going to get a different text on Monday. And I'm going to create a platform or a service where I can do that for my friends, my fans, or people who just don't want to be a friend or fan, but just want the text messages. Doesn't matter. I'm building it for you. So,
man, that's exciting. You have a lot of really, really exciting things. And if you're watching the video too, Hynesite talked about this, the light side and the dark side. And the interesting thing is his lighting right now. It's light and it's dark. If you look forward, like look at your camera right now.
Yeah,
you're showing those contrasts. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
But no, man.
And
thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna go make some music. So.
Solid. Well, everybody, you have just finished up another episode of Chase the Vision with Isaac Mashman. Be on the lookout for new episodes every Monday and interviews every single Friday. I have some super, super exciting guests who are going to be coming on. And without further ado, be on the lookout.
Bye, guys. Thank you.